Question 1. The development of a consumer product recall plan requires more than just adherence to technical protocols. A European kitchen appliance brand, led by its CEO Roberto Milan, recently discovered that one of its high-end toasters has been overheating, occasionally catching fire. Despite only 20 reported cases and no severe injuries, the brand hesitates to issue a recall due to reputational risk and limited media coverage. Advisors suggest monitoring the situation, while the ethical team urges immediate action. What is the most appropriate course of action for ISTA Milan under ISO 10393/2013, considering legal and ethical frameworks? A. Delay the recall until there is regulatory pressure or injury data warrants action. B. Begin immediate recall proceedings and inform stakeholders even in absence of regulatory mandate. C. Quietly modify the design in future batches without alerting past consumers to avoid negative publicity. D. Wait until the defect affects at least 5% of total products sold to justify the cost of recall. Answer. Correct answer. B. Begin immediate recall proceedings and inform stakeholders even in absence of regulatory mandate. Explanation. ISO 10393/2013 emphasizes that both legal and ethical duties compel organizations to act proactively in protecting consumers. Clause 4.2.2 and 4.3.2. Even without regulatory obligation, the precautionary principle dictates recalls when product safety risks are foreseeable. Ethical principles outlined in ISO 10393 include transparency and consumer protection, overriding business image concerns. Option B aligns with this. Option A and D delay corrective action, violating principles of risk-based decision-making. Option C reflects concealment, which can constitute regulatory non-compliance and ethical misconduct. Question 2. Among the various communication strategies employed during a product recall, which of the following best reflects ISO 10393/2013's guidance for effective stakeholder engagement? A. Use only legal notices through national regulatory websites to ensure formal compliance. B. Rely on public relations firms to shape messaging based on consumer sentiment. C. Establish multi-channel communication plan, including direct notices, public announcements, and digital outreach. D. Wait for consumer complaints before initiating communication, ensuring efficient targeting. Answer. Correct answer. C. Establish a multi-channel communication plan, including direct notices, public announcements, and digital outreach. Explanation. According to Clause 7.4.2 of ISO 10393/2013, effective recall management demands a proactive, structured communication protocol involving diverse channels such as websites, press releases, social media, and direct contact. Option C meets this best. Option A complies legally but fails to meet ISO's emphasis on clarity, speed, and reach. Option B risks message dilution or misinformation. Option D is reactive, delaying vital outreach that could prevent harm. Question 3. When analyzing a surge in post-market complaints about a malfunctioning treadmill's emergency stop feature, the product safety team at RunMax Inc. is unsure whether a full-scale recall is needed. Injury risk is moderate but plausible, and no fatalities have occurred. The company is known for high safety standards. What principle under ISO 10393/2013 should guide the team's recall decision-making? A. Wait until incident frequency surpasses industry thresholds. B. Initiate voluntary recall based on credible risk, regardless of statistical thresholds. C. Disregard the issue since the product meets minimum safety certification. D. Monitor further and prepare response only if legal action arises. Answer. Correct answer. B. Initiate a voluntary recall based on credible risk, regardless of statistical thresholds. Explanation. ISO 10393/2013 prioritizes consumer safety over quantitative thresholds. Clause 5.3.1. If a product presents even moderate risk, voluntary recall should be considered based on qualitative risk analysis, especially for companies that hold high safety reputations. Option B reflects this. Options A and D are reactive and can endanger consumers. Option C fails to account for dynamic hazard assessment, a core ISO principle. Question 4. To what extent does the performance of mock recalls contribute to the success of actual product recall execution as recommended by ISO 10393/2013? A. They simulate media interactions only, useful mainly for preparation. B. They are unnecessary if the company has never had a recall history. C. They are critical tools for identifying weaknesses in traceability, communication, and product retrieval systems. D. They are optional and should be conducted only during regulatory inspections. Answer. Correct answer. C. They are critical tools for identifying weaknesses in traceability, communication, and product retrieval systems. Explanation. Clause 6.7 of ISO 10393/2013 encourages regular testing of the recall system, especially through mock recalls, to assess readiness. These tests identify gaps in documentation, internal coordination, external communication, and logistics. Option C reflects this comprehensively. Option A limits scope inaccurately. Option B contradicts ISO's principle of continuous preparedness. Option D implies dependency on regulators, which is misaligned with ISO's proactive framework. Question 5. In response to a reported choking hazard linked to a baby rattle product, is Noriko Tanaka, head of global compliance at TOTS and More Limited, must manage recall operations across North America, Europe, and Asia. Authorities in each region have differing documentation expectations and deadlines. According to ISO 10393/2013, how should Tanaka handle coordination with regulatory bodies? This multi-jurisdictional scenario, A. Use one standard set of documents to simplify internal work across regions. B. Delay communication until a global standardization is achieved. C. Tailor recall documentation and communications to each jurisdiction's legal requirements while maintaining core ISO 10393 principles. D. Only comply with the region that has the highest sales volume for the product. Answer. Correct answer. C. Tailor recall documentation and communications to each jurisdiction's legal requirements while maintaining core ISO 10393 principles. Explanation. Clause 7.3.1 of ISO 10393/2013 supports jurisdiction-specific coordination while adhering to the universal principles of transparency, timeliness, and completeness. Option C allows legal compliance and ensures consistency with ISO's global recall approach. Option A risks regulatory non-compliance. Option B is impractical and unsafe. Option D overlooks regional legal obligations and undermines consumer safety in low-volume markets. Question 6. While examining the structure of a company's recall team, what is the most important reason ISO 10393/2013 assigns distinct roles and responsibilities during product recall? A. To satisfy labor law requirements. B. To ensure quick blame assignment in case of failure. C. To provide accountability, coordination, and clarity during high-pressure operations. D. To reduce redundancy and save operational costs. Answer. Correct answer. C. To provide accountability, coordination, and clarity during high-pressure operations. Explanation. Clause 6.1.2 of ISO 10393/2013 emphasizes assigning specific recall roles, e.g., risk assessor, logistics lead, media coordinator, to foster clear lines of responsibility, minimize confusion, and maintain operational effectiveness. This structure enhances efficiency during crises. Option C reflects this accurately. Options A, B, and D misinterpret ISO's goal, which is not legal compliance alone or blame assignment, but recall efficacy and consumer protection. Question 7. Given the circumstances that a batch of smartwatches is emitting low-level electromagnetic interference disrupting nearby medical devices, how should the recall team interpret the risk according to ISO 10393/2013? A. Probability is low, so recall is unnecessary. B. Severity is negligible, as most users do not live near hospitals. C. Both severity and probability must be assessed to determine the need for action. D. Since the product is innovative, risk standards can be temporarily relaxed. Answer. Correct answer. C. Both severity and probability must be assessed to determine the need for action. Explanation. ISO 10393-2013 instructs recall personnel to use qualitative and quantitative assessment of both risk severity and likelihood. Clause 5.3.1. Even a low probability but high severity event, such as interference with critical devices, justifies potential recall. Option C aligns with this. Options A and B oversimplify risk interpretation. Option D misrepresents ISO's non-negotiable safety prioritization. Question 8. The underlying principle of ISO 10393-2013 record-keeping requirements emphasizes what aspect of post-recall documentation: A. Creating promotional material to restore brand image. B. Preparing legal defense against future litigation. C. Capturing evidence for internal learning, external audit, and continuous improvement. D. Complying only with regulator instructions and timelines. Answer. Correct answer. C. Capturing evidence for internal learning, external audit, and continuous improvement. Explanation. Clause 9.2 of ISO 10393-2013 highlights maintaining detailed recall records for analysis, traceability, regulatory compliance, and future improvements. These documents help encompass corrective and preventive actions and transparency. Option C is accurate. Option A is not ISO's concern. Option B is too narrow, and D fails to grasp the self-monitoring and improvement ethos ISO promotes. Question 9. In light of recent developments, Mr. Darren Cole, a communications director, is debating how transparent to be during a toy recall. The defect causes minor injuries but is correctable at home. His team wants to downplay the recall to avoid panic. What approach should Mr. Cole take under ISO 10393-2013? A. Use vague messaging to reduce public concern. B. Deliver clear, actionable information, emphasizing consumer protection. C. Emphasize product popularity to offset recall fears. D. Delay announcements until a marketing plan is ready. Answer. Correct answer. B. Deliver clear, actionable information, emphasizing consumer protection. Explanation. Clause 7.4.2 stresses clarity, completeness, and timeliness in communication. Even for low-risk recalls, trust building through honest, direct messages is key. Option B best reflects this. Options A, C, and D compromise transparency, reducing effectiveness and trustworthiness, which contradicts ISO's core consumer-first philosophy. Question 10. Through careful analysis of previous recall failures, what is the primary purpose of post-recall review according to ISO 10393-2013? A. Identify opportunities to cut costs in future recalls. B. Highlight employee failures for disciplinary action. C. Document lessons learned to enhance future recall strategies and product safety. D. Satisfy shareholder demands for performance evaluation. Answer. Correct answer. C. Document lessons learned to enhance future recall strategies and product safety. Explanation. ISO 10393-2013 Clause 8.1 requires a post-recall evaluation to identify system gaps and improve future practices. Option C aligns with ISO's continual improvement loop, supporting stronger CUPA processes. Option A and D are cost or optics focused, not safety oriented. Option B introduces blame culture, undermining learning. Question 11. Throughout the course of a new campaign, Sayshine Cosmetics released a children's glitter gel containing microparticles that were later found to cause minor eye irritation. Although the adverse effects were non-severe and reversible, the recall coordinator, Chloe Gardner, is unsure whether full recall is warranted, as sales have been low and media attention is minimal. What should Gardner consider as the primary justification for recall under ISO 10393-2013? A. The brand's market value and likelihood of shareholder backlash. B. The potential consumer health risk, even if the consequences are non-severe. C. The presence of media coverage to justify recall resources. D. The geographic distribution of the product to determine if it's worth recalling. Answer. Correct answer. B. The potential consumer health risk even if the consequences are non-severe. Explanation: ISO 10393 2013 focuses on consumer safety as the highest priority regardless of commercial or reputational factors. Clause 4.2.1 Even minor, widespread or cumulative health impacts justify recall consideration if consumer well-being is at stake. Option B aligns with this. Options A, C, and D divert from the risk-based approach endorsed by the standard, which explicitly discourages weighing safety against sales metrics or media attention. Question 12. In terms of evaluating the risk associated with faulty electric scooters, a risk team and Volcom Limited conducts an assessment that includes both field data and engineering simulation. They use fault tree analysis (FTA) to determine the paths leading to brake failure under specific environmental conditions. What is the value of such an approach under ISO 10393 2013? A. It allows isolating human error to reduce product liability exposure. B. It meets regulatory compliance without needing real-world testing. C. It supports structured, root-cause-oriented risk evaluation to guide recall decisions. D. It helps marketing teams develop safety claims for future products. Answer. Correct answer. C. It supports structured, root-cause-oriented risk evaluation to guide recall decisions. Explanation: ISO 10393 2013 supports the use of structured risk assessment tools, including FTA, to identify hazards, assess severity, and determine corrective actions. Clause 5.3.2 Fault tree analysis enables systematic diagnosis of failure modes, helping prioritize risks, support recall decisions. Option C is correct. Options A and D misapply technical tools for legal or marketing ends. Option B ignores ISO's call for evidence-based and holistic risk assessment, which includes field data. Question 13. As evidenced by past delays in product recalls, Neopis applies form a cross-functional recall team. However, the team lacked clear delegation, leading to mixed messaging and poor product tracking during a recent recall of contaminated pet food. According to ISO 10393 2013, how should the recall team be structured to prevent these failures? A. All functions should report directly to legal to ensure compliance. B. The structure should be hierarchical with minimal cross-functional integration. C. Roles should be clearly defined with a central recall coordinator for oversight. D. The team should be composed of external consultants only to avoid internal bias. Answer. Correct answer. C. Roles should be clearly defined with a central recall coordinator for oversight. Explanation: ISO 10393 2013 Clause 6.1.2 stresses the importance of a clearly defined recall team with a designated coordinator supported by subject matter leads from legal, logistics, and communications. This ensures accountability, rapid response, and efficient communication. Option C captures this. Options A and B lack operational flexibility. Option D may introduce delays and misalignment and isn't feasible for most companies. Question 14. By evaluating consumer complaints and injury reports, Eltron Electronics identifies a fire hazard in one of their high-demand battery chargers. The internal team is debating the nature of public announcements, whether to describe the full extent of the risk or simplify it for brand protection. What does ISO 10393 2013 recommend regarding the contents of recall notifications? A. Provide only minimal legally required information to avoid confusion. B. Ensure full transparency, including the nature of the defect, hazard, remedy, and return instructions. C. Highlight brand achievements alongside recall details to reassure customers. D. Use technical jargon to limit misinterpretation of product risk. Answer. Correct answer. B. Ensure full transparency, including the nature of the defect, hazard, remedy, and return instructions. Explanation: Clause 7.4.2 of ISO 10393 2013 states that recall notifications must be clear, concise, and comprehensive, including the hazard, product details, corrective actions, and contact information. Option B upholds ISO's values of consumer protection and trust. Option A risks under communication. Option C dilutes the message, and D may confuse consumers, violating ISO's emphasis on clarity and accessibility. Question 15. While it is true that large-scale recalls demand significant operational support, many organizations fail to allocate sufficient resources beforehand. During a recall involving defective humidifiers, the response team at Aquatech Limited ran out of staff and materials, causing delays and consumer frustration. What guidance does ISO 10393-2013 offer regarding resource planning for product recalls? A. Resources should be allocated only after a recall has been officially initiated. B. Anticipated recall costs should be budgeted annually as part of contingency planning. C. Product recalls are rare and can rely on existing customer service resources. D. Recalls should be outsourced to third parties to eliminate internal burden. Answer. Correct answer. B. Anticipated recall costs should be budgeted annually as part of contingency planning. Explanation. Clause 6.5 of ISO 10393-2013 highlights the need for resource planning, including financial, human, and technical assets to manage recalls effectively. Organizations should maintain readiness even in absence of recalls. Option B reflects this proactive approach. Option A causes delays, while C underestimates recall complexity. Option D may be applicable, but ISO emphasizes internal preparedness first. Question 16. From multiple perspectives, the identification of hazards must include input from design, customer feedback, and post-market surveillance. At Skynest Furniture, several reports indicate their foldable chairs collapse under specific conditions. The design team blames improper usage, while customer service insists it's recurring safety hazard. Under ISO 10393-2013, what should be the company's next step? A. Reject complaints unless physical evidence of misuse is provided. B. Initiate an in-depth product risk assessment and hazard analysis. C. Label the chairs with additional usage warnings and resume sales. D. Wait for third-party lawsuit to validate the claims. Answer. Correct answer. B. Initiate an in-depth product risk assessment and hazard analysis. Explanation. Clause 5.2 and 5.3.1 stress early hazard identification and risk assessment even when evidence is disputed. ISO 10393 urges companies to investigate consumer concerns to ensure design adequacy and product safety. Option B fulfills this requirement. Options A and D delay action. Option C is an inadequate substitute for root cause analysis. Question 17. When presented with unpredictable distribution channels and outsourced logistics, the recall team at Homeglow Lighting wishes to draft a standardized checklist. They hope this improves their efficiency during incident response. What components should be prioritized in a recall checklist according to ISO 10393-2013? A. Promotional materials for brand protection and investor confidence. B. Activities including product identification, communication, retrieval, and post-recall review. C. Internal cost-benefit analysis before initiating public actions. D. Stakeholder investment briefings and quarterly impact projections. Answer. Correct answer. B. Activities including product identification, communication, retrieval, and post-recall review. Explanation. Clause 6.4.1 recommends a comprehensive checklist that spans the full recall lifecycle: hazard evaluation, stakeholder communication, product removal, remedy, and effectiveness evaluation. Option B adheres to this structure. Options A, C, and D reflect non-safety business priorities that ISO explicitly discourages from influencing recall execution. Question 18. Considering the evidence, Toy Planet Limited discovers that defective packaging from their contracted supplier has exposed toys to contaminants. They are unsure how to communicate with suppliers without triggering contractual disputes. What is the correct approach under ISO 10393-2013? A. Avoid supplier communication to protect legal interests. B. Notify suppliers transparently and collaborate on risk mitigation. C. Shift responsibility to the supplier in the public recall announcement. D. Replace the supplier silently to avoid market panic. Answer. Correct answer. B. Notify suppliers transparently and collaborate on risk mitigation. Explanation. Clause 7.2 emphasizes active engagement with supply chain partners, especially when product safety is affected. Collaborative resolution ensures faster action and system-wide improvements. Option B is aligned with ISO's transparency principles. Option A and D obstruct timely resolution. Option C encourages blame shifting, which can backfire legally and reputationally. Question 19. Among the various record-keeping systems used to manage product movement, which traceability method best supports ISO 10393-2013 requirements? A. Relying on supplier invoices to estimate distributed volumes. B. Maintaining batch-level data for every product unit throughout the supply chain. C. Collecting customer reviews to determine affected regions. D. Using social media tracking to estimate product locations. Answer. Correct answer. B. Maintaining batch-level data for every product unit throughout the supply chain. Explanation. ISO 10393-2013 Clause 6.3 requires traceability systems that can identify products by batch, lot, or serial number, enabling accurate retrieval. Option B supports this. Option A lacks detail, C is unstructured, and D is imprecise for risk management. Question 20. Examining the consequences of a delayed recall, Nutramed Pharmaceuticals found that 38% of consumers had not returned the contaminated product due to unclear instructions. The recall team now wishes to evaluate effectiveness. What metrics should be prioritized under ISO 10393-2013 to evaluate recall success? A. The financial loss incurred due to returned products. B. The return rate of affected units and consumer awareness achieved. C. Shareholder confidence and post-recall brand recovery. D. Online reviews and consumer sentiment. Answer. Correct answer. B. The return rate of affected units and consumer awareness achieved. Explanation. ISO 10393-2013 Clause 8.1.2 defines recall effectiveness in terms of retrieval success, consumer notification and risk mitigation. Return rates and communication reach a central KPIs. Option B reflects this. Options A, C, and D do not align with ISO's consumer-centric safety goals. Question 21. In response to the recall of a popular electric kettle due to electrocution risks, Brupro Limited receives a high volume of customer complaints and refund inquiries. A customer service team is overwhelmed, leading to delays, misinformation, and public dissatisfaction. Under ISO 10393-2013, what is the best approach for handling such consumer interaction? A. Automate replies to manage volume while delaying specific answers. B. Redirect consumers to retail partners to handle their concerns directly. C. Train and resource a dedicated team to provide accurate, timely, and empathetic responses. D. Pause communications temporarily to revise messaging and reduce miscommunication. Answer. Correct answer. C. Train and resource a dedicated team to provide accurate, timely, and empathetic responses. Explanation. Clause 7.4.3 of ISO 10393-2013 mandates effective consumer interaction during recalls, emphasizing empathy, accuracy, and speed. A trained team reduces misinformation, restores trust, and manages reputational risk. Option C supports this. Option A risks consumer frustration. Option B improperly shifts responsibility. Option D contradicts ISO's emphasis on responsiveness. Question 22. The development of a strong recall management system at Technova Corp is underway. The team is unsure how much documentation is necessary and whether it should focus only on past recalls. According to ISO 10393-2013, what should the recall documentation include? A. Only successful recall cases to demonstrate efficiency. B. A comprehensive system covering procedures, decision trees, training and communication strategies. C. Sales and marketing strategies to rebuild the brand post-recall. D. A general statement of intent and legal disclaimers. Answer. Correct answer. B. A comprehensive system covering procedures, decision trees, training and communication strategies. Explanation. Clause 6.6 requires organizations to document the recall management system in detail, including recall planning, communication, risk assessment tools, and personnel responsibilities. Option B reflects this comprehensive scope. Option A omits learning opportunities. Option C and D fall outside the operational recall focus. Question 23. The most significant aspect of preparing for product recalls is addressing unpredictable disruptions. When storm-induced power outage is delayed, a recall's logistics, Ecofin Inc., lacked contingency plan and failed to retrieve many defective fans. What should have been done under ISO 10393, 2013 to avoid this outcome? A. Focus solely on primary recall execution and respond to disruptions when they occur. B. Outsource planning to external crisis consultants after the recall is live. C. Develop contingency plans covering supply chain, communication, and resource disruptions. D. Avoid over-planning to ensure lean operations and adaptability. Answer. Correct answer. C. Develop contingency plans covering supply chain, communication, and resource disruptions. Explanation. Clause 6.4.3 requires contingency planning to manage potential logistical or systemic failures. ISO 10393 stresses preparedness, not just reactivity. Option C aligns with this. Options A, B, and D are reactive, violating ISO's emphasis on proactive recall strategy. Question 24. Taking into account the heightened sensitivity during a major product recall, Dermaskin Limited struggled with controlling misinformation after initial announcements about tainted sunscreen. Social media spread panic due to vague language used. What communication approach is aligned with ISO 10393, 2013 in a crisis scenario? A. Use pre-drafted templates to ensure uniformity. B. Issue detailed, transparent, and specific messages using all available channels. C. Delay public messaging until legal teams finalize terminology. D. Keep communication minimal to avoid fueling speculation. Answer. Correct answer. B. Issue detailed, transparent, and specific messages using all available channels. Explanation. ISO 10393, 2013, Clause 7.4.2 emphasizes open, prompt, and accurate communication, especially in crisis settings. Vague messaging undermines consumer trust and control of the narrative. Option B reflects ISO's guidance. Options A, C, and D increase confusion and reduce transparency. Question 25. From a historical standpoint, the involvement of stakeholders has shaped recall success. During a recall of defective helmets, Urban Gear Company excluded retailers from planning, leading to fragmented execution and public backlash. What role should stakeholders play under ISO 10393, 2013? A. Stakeholders should only be informed post-execution to reduce coordination delays. B. Stakeholders should be involved from planning through execution to maximize effectiveness. C. Stakeholders should only assist with data collection, not communication. D. Stakeholders should be responsible for liability coverage, not operational response. Answer. Correct answer. B. Stakeholders should be involved from planning through execution to maximize effectiveness. Explanation. Clause 4.3.1 states that stakeholders, including manufacturers, distributors, retailers, and regulators, must collaborate throughout the recall lifecycle. Their inclusion ensures broader reach, logistical support, and trust. Option B reflects this. The other options ignore ISO's cross-functional and multi-party approach. Question 26. The growing trend in sustainable practices influences how companies handle recalled goods. Greenback Inc., after recalling BPA-laden water bottles, decided to incinerate all units to ensure disposal. Drawing public criticism over environmental impact, what disposal approach is aligned with ISO 10393, 2013? A. Destroy recalled products as quickly as possible to eliminate liability. B. Explore environmentally responsible disposal options that still mitigate safety risks. C. Resell the recalled units in countries with weaker regulations. D. Stockpile recalled goods until cost-effective disposal solution is found. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explore environmentally responsible disposal options that still mitigate safety risks. Explanation. Clause 7.6.1 of ISO 10393, 2013 recommends safe and environmentally sound disposal considering both public health and sustainability. Option B reflects a balanced and ethical response. Options A, C, and D breach ethical and legal guidelines. Question 27. To illustrate this point, a tech company issued a recall for phone chargers overheating during use. However, consumers were confused by vague terminology such as isolated malfunction events and performance concerns. What messaging standard does ISO 10393-2013 promote in this context? A. Use scientific terms to sound professional and technically accurate. B. Provide messages in multiple languages with plain language explanations of the hazard, risk, and remedy. C. Avoid using strong language to protect brand perception. D. Disclose as little detail as possible to minimize public alarm. Answer. Correct answer. B. Provide messages in multiple languages with plain language explanations of the hazard, risk, and remedy. Explanation. Clause 7.4.2 urges messages to be clear, simple, and multilingual, tailored to diverse audiences. Consumers must understand the risk, how to respond, and what action to take. Option B is correct. Options A, C, and D violate ISO's principles of clarity, accessibility, and effectiveness. Question 20. Upon closer examination after failed recall campaign, Rapid Blender Inc. discovered that retrieval rates were low due to inconvenient return processes and confusing online portals. What corrective action should the company take under ISO 10393-2013? A. Continue using existing systems since future recalls are unlikely. B. Revise recall procedures based on consumer feedback and operational performance data. C. Focus on enhancing customer loyalty campaigns instead of operational updates. D. Shift future recalls to third-party platforms to outsource responsibility. Answer. Correct answer. B. Revise recall procedures based on consumer feedback and operational performance data. Explanation. Clause 8.2 promotes continual improvement of recall systems based on lessons learned. This includes incorporating feedback, audit findings, and performance metrics to enhance procedures. Option B aligns with this. Other options disregard ISO's improvement loop and responsibility retention principles. Question 29. Contrary to popular belief, recalls aren't always the most expensive option. During the recall of faulty heaters, Cositech Limited discovered that delays in recall created class action litigation costing far more than a proactive response would have. What does ISO 10393-2013 recommend regarding financial planning for recalls? A. Allocate contingency funds and evaluate long-term financial impact of delayed action. B. Postpone recalls to minimize impact on quarterly profits. C. Exclude recall costs from financial reporting for investor reassurance. D. Use insurance policies to avoid direct spending on recalls. Answer. Correct answer A. Allocate contingency funds and evaluate long-term financial impact of delayed action. Explanation. Clause 6.5 advises financial planning for potential recalls, including budgeting, contingency reserves, and impact modeling. Proactive investment reduces regulatory fines and reputational damage. Option A supports this. Other options ignore ISO's risk-based, transparent planning approach. Question 30. In a modern context of mass customization, GearFit Inc. finds repeated safety defects in different models of its fitness trackers due to inconsistent supplier practices. The company launches multiple recalls but doesn't adjust its procurement system. What step is missing according to ISO 10393-2013? A. Continue recalling products model by model to address each case. B. Implement system-wide corrective and preventive actions, CUPA, addressing supplier processes. C. Switch to cheaper suppliers to offset recall losses. D. Wait for regulatory investigation before making changes. Answer. Correct answer. B. Implement system-wide corrective and preventive actions, CUPA, addressing supplier processes. Explanation. Clause 8.3 directs organizations to apply system-level CUPA, identifying root causes, not just symptoms. This ensures long-term risk reduction. Option B is correct. options they see, and D. Fail to address the systemic failures leading to recurring recalls.